So today marks the 5-year anniversary for Chris Benoit's death in 2007. The big scandal of the double homicide-suicide where he killed his wife, to us known as woman, but Nancy Benoit and Daniel Benoit, his son, and then hung himself the very same day, I suppose. And again, guys, I don't know the time span of how this happened. I hear people saying that it happened over the period of 3 days, which to me is like, it's hard to believe. To me, I would like to think it happened in a day. Yeah, he was with his family throughout the 3-day period when he was at home. I get that, but for him to kill his family within a 3-day period, so you're telling me he killed his wife on Friday, and then killed his son on Saturday, and then hung himself on Sunday. That is really hard to believe, especially for somebody like Chris Benoit, who has been highly regarded as this nice, sane, respectful, courteous person behind scenes. I've seen interviews of Chris Benoit. He's a smart guy. He's a very nice, intelligent, courteous person who loved his family. Wrestlers have said this as well. People who know Chris Benoit personally have said the exact same thing. So to me, when a guy like that, with that type of reputation, with the wrestlers or wrestling fans, just ups and kills his family and then himself, when just over a year before that, his best friend died, just out of nowhere, just one day decided to go home, kill his family, and it happened in a 3-day period. Yeah, that's not something I completely believe. Personally, how I see it, it happened in the span of a day. You know, he killed his wife, and this wasn't the moment. You know, he had the brain of a 90-year-old, and people have been saying that, well, I don't see 90-year-olds killing their families. They're 90 years old. At that point in time in their life, they can barely walk, let alone have the effort and the strength and, you know, the freaking time to go strangle his wife and then go into the next room, kill their kid, and then kill themselves. I think if you're 90 years old, you would have somebody be able to stop you at that point in time. Chris Benoit was in his late 30s, early 40s, around that point in his life, right? That man was very healthy. Okay, he had the mind of a 90-year-old. So yeah, that's even more dangerous. And that's not something you can just up and stop either. And guys, again, this is just a scenario. I don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. You weren't there. I wasn't there. I'm choosing to grasp at straws like everybody else is doing. And choosing to side with things, make sense out of it, that I see fit is the right way to go about it. Just like the way you went about it is the way you feel going about it. And I did a video about this. My 200th video, by the way, which I will always remember, because it's my 200th video. Saying everything that I could possibly say about the situation. If you want to go watch it, go back and watch it. But, since doing that video, nothing's changed. Nothing. Yes, I've seen people's views. I've seen wrestling fans' views here on YouTube and outside of YouTube. I've seen wrestlers' interviews about it, documentaries about it. I've seen news reports about it. I've seen everything. Nothing. Nothing has changed my views on Chris Benoit. I still respect the wrestler. I still will always admire the wrestler Chris Benoit. That doesn't mean I admired him for what he did to his family. I can't defend murder. I'm not going to defend murder. At the end of the day, no matter what sense of logic I give you, he murdered his family. He murdered his wife and his child. And until evidence comes out that shows he didn't do that, which is impossible at this point in time, I can't do anything to defend how his life ended. However, I see nothing wrong with wrestling fans choosing to respect him for what he did inside the ring, inside the wrestling business. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. I do it, and that's just because I grew up watching Chris Benoit as a kid. I've seen what he was inside the ring. I've seen what he was outside the ring. And it's funny to me that I mention this because as of right now, I'm watching a series called The Top 50 SmackDown Matches of All Time, which is a great series on YouTube. Go check that out. You know who the top 4 wrestlers are in pretty much all of them? Kurt Angle, Rey Mysterio, Edge, and Chris Benoit. Why should I let what he did at the end of his life tarnish that? I choose to respect him for all the great matches he's put on, for all the accomplishments he's made in the wrestling business. I still say his run in 2004 was very inspirational. It was a great run for him. And I still choose to accept him as the wrestler that I, John Cena, MVP, Edge, and other wrestlers have painted him as. A courteous, respectful, family-loving guy that went insane because of the wrestling business and killed his family. Now, with that said, no matter what I say, nothing I say is going to change anybody's opinion on Benoit. To me, people who choose to lose respect for Chris Benoit based off of what he did at the end of his life, I don't blame them. I can't get mad at them. I can't come up here and condemn them. What kind of an asshole would I be coming up here and condemning every wrestling fan that lost respect for him for killing somebody? Come on now. George Zimmerman killed Trayvon Martin. Many people want him gone. I want him in jail for what he did to Trayvon Martin. What kind of a hypocritical, cynical bastard would I be to say I want him in jail, but I want Chris Benoit in the Hall of Fame? That makes absolutely no sense. So I'm not going to go down that route. I think the people who choose to lose respect for Chris Benoit have every single right to do so. I mean, let's be honest. Ever since his murder in 2007, wrestling has had a big dark cloud over it. It was so bad that it forced WWE to go PG to maintain themselves, to really stay afloat, because wrestling was in a bad spot. Nancy Grace, all these other reporters coming out bashing wrestling, making us look bad as wrestling fans. Wrestling companies like WWE really had to do things like that to stay afloat. Can we blame them for it? Absolutely not. Can I blame that Vince McMahon doesn't want to acknowledge that Chris Benoit doesn't exist? Absolutely not. Does it irritate me? You goddamn right it irritates me, but I understand. Because I know how judgmental the world is right now. And WWE, the last thing they need is to be seen as a company that supports a murderer. And I know my best friend John wishes and says that he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. You know what? In a sense, I agree with him. Does he deserve to be in the Hall of Fame for his accomplishments and being a great wrestler? Yes, he does. But will he ever be in the Hall of Fame? No. And honestly, if I was in WWE, I wouldn't put him in there either. Because by doing that, I cross so many morality lines. And as a business, that's a bad business decision to make. And that's just something I will have to accept. So I understand that side of the coin. I understand why people lose respect for Chris Benoit. I understand why they choose to see things that way. And it's no different than any other murder case. If you're going to get mad at somebody else for murdering, period, Chris Benoit deserves the exact same treatment. That's how it is. However, the other side of the coin, which I choose to look at, is the fact that he was a great wrestler, because he was a great wrestler. He had a great career, because he did have a great career. He made a lot of great accomplishments. WCW, U.S. champion numerous times, tag team champion, and world champion in WCW. WWE, world champion, U.S. champion, IC champion, tag team champion. Numerous great matches with Edge, Chris Jericho, Kurt Angle, John Cena. Yeah, he had a match with John Cena. Booker T, Rey Mysterio. So many great things to have admiration for when it comes to Chris Benoit. Why would I want to tarnish that? Why would I want to start seeing things from a negative perspective and completely ignore all of that stuff? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to take it all in, including the fact that he murdered his family. But I'm going to look at the other side of the coin and admire him as the wrestler. And if anything is going to piss me off in terms of Chris Benoit, are the people that condemn other wrestling fans for still having respect for Chris Benoit. Because there are people that do that. There are people who actually say that you're a horrible human being for still respecting Chris Benoit. And to those people I give a big F you to, because who the hell are you to pass judgment on somebody for choosing to respect a guy for being a great wrestler? I don't see people going out of their way to condemn those people who inducted O.J. Simpson into the Hall of Fame. I don't see people going out of their way to condemn those who respect Adolf Hitler for being a great artist. So I think it's very wrong of people who feel the need to cast judgment and condemn those for respecting Chris Benoit for being a great wrestler, for what he did for the wrestling business. Because you don't see me coming up here and condemning you for not respecting Chris Benoit. It's your right. Nobody knows what really happened. You have a right to see the scenario how you want to see it, and if you lose respect for him, that's your right as a human being to do so. I'm not going to come up here and say, you're a bad wrestling fan, or you're the worst wrestling fan ever, and real wrestling fans respect Chris Benoit for what he did for the wrestling business. No, I'm not going to do that. You're a human being. If somebody murdered somebody, of course you're going to lose respect for them. That's natural. So what I'm going to do on this 5-year anniversary of Chris Benoit's death is not rekindle what he did to his family. I am going to go watch some matches of Chris Benoit. Chris Benoit versus Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit versus Chavo Guerrero, versus Edge, versus Rey Mysterio and Kurt Angle. Tag team matches with Kurt Angle. Remember that tag team run in 2012? That was awesome. Against Rey Mysterio and Edge. They had a 2 out of 3 series. That was one of my favorite matches, honestly, for SmackDown. And then his championship run in 2004. The match he had against Batista. And, of course, the ultimate match when he won the freaking championship at WrestleMania 20. I don't see Satan rising up from hell and telling me you've reserved your spot in hell for admiring Chris Benoit. And I don't see Jesus Christ coming down from heaven and revoking my Christianity because I chose to respect Chris Benoit for being a great wrestler. Because there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying I love him for being a murderer. I never said that. What I'm saying here is, guys, I know what he's done, but I choose to see him as the great wrestler. I'm not condemning anybody that chooses to see it differently. That is your right. But please, show the same courtesy and respect my right to admire him for being a great wrestler. Because despite murdering his family, I think the real crime out of all of this are the people who condemn those for seeing how they see things. I'm not condemning those who choose to see him as a murderer, so you shouldn't condemn me for choosing to see him as the great wrestler that he was before he killed his wife. And that's going to be my 5-year anniversary video for Chris Benoit. Everything that I could possibly say about Chris Benoit, I've said it. If I didn't say it in that previous video, I said it in this video. So, say your thoughts down below. Make a video response. Do what you do. And you probably won't get another video from Dalyxman in terms of Chris Benoit, because there is nothing else I can possibly say. To me, the guy went insane. In the heat of the moment, he killed his wife, killed his son, and I regret he killed his son and then killed himself. He was a murderer. He killed his family. Not going to do anything to defend that. But I'm not going to see him as a murderer. I choose to see him as a great wrestler that has done great things for the wrestling business when he was alive. And even now, 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, that will not change.